in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, we mentioned there's so many different ways the Messenger of Allah would say Bismillah. That it was not limited just to, for example, certain acts that we might know of before we eat, before we drink, before we make wudu, when exiting the home, entering the masjid, when doing all these various acts. Bismillah is mentioned. But it's something that is, the scholars say it's mustahab, it's something that's recommended in all these various aspects of your life, that whatever you're doing. And we went last week into the discussion of the benefits of saying Bismillah. And mashallah, we were able to come together with, I think, maybe 15 different points of benefits of saying Bismillah. That it served as a motivational tool. It served as something that it brought the mercy of Allah and the barakah of Allah in your act. It served as something that renewed your niyyah. That whenever you start something, that maybe you might feel that, oh, I'm doing something and this is to please someone else. Rather, no, you say Bismillah. That initially my intention is always with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That this serves as something that refocuses you by saying Bismillah. So next, let's look at now, inshallah, the next ayah in Surah Al-Fatiha. That is Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And commonly this is translated as all praise and thanks is due to Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of the worlds. Now, we have to look at the word Alhamdu first. The word Alhamdu is commonly translated as what? What have you guys heard before?
Praise.
Praise, right, praise. But if you look at most tafsir, you'll find that Alhamd is always associated with two words. It is praise as well as thanks. Thana wa shukr. It's praise and thanks. So, what is praise and what's thanks then? How do you differentiate between praise and thanks? An easy definition of praise is when you appreciate something, when you admire something. So when you're just awestruck by it. So for example, you have an incredible teacher, and you say, wow, this teacher is just incredible. She is so nice, or he is just so smart and intelligent. Or for example, you see a car, or you see something and you say, wow, look at that car, look how nice that looks. You don't go up to the car and say, thank you, car. You are so nice looking. You don't thank the car, right? It doesn't work like that. Whereas when you thank someone, when you show gratitude, you're thanking someone. So for example, if this nice teacher was to give you a nice car, which will not happen, but if that was to happen, you would say what? You would then be thankful and have gratitude towards your teacher. So what we learn here is that when we say Alhamdulillah in Quran, or when we say Alhamdulillah in our daily lives, we're not just saying thank you to Allah. Rather, we're saying many other things as well. We're saying that we are appreciative of all the blessings He has given us and bestowed upon His creation. That all praises to Him. Alhamdulillah. At the same time, we're saying we are in complete awe. We are amazed by you, Ya Allah. Because that is the praise and thanks together. That you're saying thank you, but you're also saying at the same time you're incredible. That what you do for us, who you are, Ya Allah, we are amazed by you. So, what's interesting over here is that if we look at in Surah Al-Isra, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that there is not a single thing in the heavens and the earth except that it praises Allah, it glorifies Allah with this praise. So we ask ourselves that if all creation is praising Allah, when it comes time for insan, when it comes time for us to praise Allah and thank Allah and glorify Allah, do we become heedless of it? When we are looking at our daily lives, instead of starting our actions, our studies, our work life, whatever it is, with the remembrance of Allah, do we become neglectful at certain points? So it's important for us to realize that Alhamdulillah is a phrase that we use commonly, right? It's something that maybe built into our vocabulary almost. How are you doing? Alhamdulillah. Like, maybe you're sick or whatever it is, but the first thing that comes out of your mouth, Alhamdulillah. It's something that's built in. But realize what we're saying. It's very important to realize that what we're saying is we're thanking Allah. Regardless of whatever difficulties come upon us, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because He knows what is in our best interest in this life and the next. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the things that He has given us. And one other aspect that we can benefit from this word Alhamdulillah is that when we're talking about praise and thanks, when we praise anything in this life, so for example, you have an incredible gadget, and you're saying, wow, this gadget is incredible. Or my teacher is incredible. My mother is so nice, my mother is so loving, my father is so kind. Whatever praise you have, whatever thanks you have to give to an individual, realize the source of all those things is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. that if it was not for Allah's doing, this individual would not be in your life. If it was not for Allah's doing, this blessing would not be in your life. And if you look at all the luxuries that Allah has bestowed upon us, talking about luxuries, things that are not necessary for us to survive, like what? Taste buds, right? Not the cafe, I'm not talking about the restaurant, I'm talking about taste buds in your mouth. Taste buds. For us to be able to, eat food and enjoy the flavor, is that something that was needed to survive? No. This is something that Allah gave us as a luxury. That Allah gave us something like this, something so beautiful. The ability to see all these beautiful different colors. That this is something that Allah gave us. Certain creatures might not have the same ability of taste, or they might just eat for survival. But yet we can eat this kind of cuisine. We say, oh mashallah, the Malay food is so sweet, so sweet, so spicy over here. Maybe some food you say, okay, this is really, it's kind of like this food is like this. So it's something that is extra. It's a luxury that Allah gave us. Now forget about luxuries. Think about the necessities Allah gave us. There are so many luxuries and incredible things that He has given us. Then there are those things that are the bare minimum, the basics that we call them. That ahsani taqween, that He created you in the best of fashions. That these foundational things in terms of our bodies, in terms of our health, in terms of the wealth that Allah has given us, in terms of the family members we have, in terms of the friends that we have, all these things, and even now today, actually one of the biggest blessings we can think about is what? Safety. Having safety and not being afraid that some attack will happen to you. Being able to live in your own home with security and peace. That Allah has bestowed us so many different things that might be essential in our lives. They might be basics in our lives that we take for granted. But people would trade anything in the world to be able to live in a place where there's not bombings happening. Live in a place where they're not under attack. Or they have to be moving from place to place. They've been displaced. So we have to thank Allah, alhamdulillah, for all the things that He has given us. When we look at alhamdulillah, we can also see the next part of the ayah, alhamdulillah. Lillah, this is a word that is giving us something very special because of that lam over there. Lillah. It means that it belongs to Allah. What belongs to Allah? All praise and thanks. And this is where we got this idea. That regardless if we praise Allah or not, if we thank Allah or not, if we acknowledge His existence or not, before creation was even around, all praise and thanks was due to Allah. Even if there was no one praising and thanking Him. Why is that? Because He is Al-Ghani, Al-Hamid. He is self-sufficient. He's not in need of us. And He is Hamid. He is already praiseworthy in and of Himself. He does not need someone to praise Him. He does not need our worship. He does not need our thanks. Rather, it is us who are dependent upon Allah. Rather, it is us who thank Allah to be closer to Him. Part of our ibadah, part of our worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next we look at the word alhamdulillah, then next comes Rabb. What is Rabb? We hear this in so many different du'as, right? Rabbana, atina fid dunya hasana. Rabbana, wa atina ma wa'adtana. So many different du'as we have Rabbana. What does Rabbana mean? What does Rabb mean? So when we look at the word Rabb, there's actually a couple of things that are connotated here. When we look at Rabb, the very first thing that a Rabb does is someone who's an owner of something. So if you say Rabb of something, he's the owner of something. So when we look at this aspect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is the owner of us all. He is the owner of all creation. Now compare that to when we just talk about ownership in general. If I own something and it starts to break or malfunction, what do we do as owners? If you own something and it starts to not function properly or not work anymore, what do? You throw it away. Some people say throw it away. Anybody else do something else? You try to fix it. So some people are more merciful owners, mashallah. Some people are saying, no, we'll try to fix it first. Okay, now answer me this. If it doesn't get fixed, what do you do with it?
Just throw it away.
And you throw it away. No one's going to say, no, this is my special thing, I own it. Even if it stops working, I'll take care of it. It'll stay with me. Look at this in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not merciful, A'udhu Billah, He is the most merciful. But if we were saying that Allah is not merciful, now how some people claim that Allah is not merciful, He rather shows anger. The very first time you stop working as something that He owns, what can He do with you? As some people say, throw you away, right? Allah can get rid of you like this. But if Allah tries to fix you or improve you through certain trials and tribulations, by learning your religion, by being around good people, if you start getting better and better, and you get better, then the rightful mentality is what? That, oh, if my thing gets fixed, I'll keep it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if his abd, even if his slaves, if his creation is out of line and disobeys him, yet He still gives us opportunities. He still gives us opportunities to what? To come back to Allah, to come back to Him. Says sincerely in repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even if we keep transgressing the bounds of Allah, if we keep going and keep doing what displeases Allah, or even look at individuals who say that He doesn't exist, that atheists, they say that He doesn't exist, right? But yet, you can see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still continues to give this person blessings. Still gives them their wealth, still gives them their family, still gives them all these different blessings. And this is to show us that He is a Rabb, but at the same time He is a merciful Rabb. Regardless of who you are, He will provide for you. He will give you sustenance. He will give you all these different things. But it's our jobs as His ibad, His worshippers, right? He's the Rabb, He's the master, and we're the slaves. Our job as slaves is to do what? That whenever we do something wrong, we turn back to Him in repentance. We come back to Him. Because we know His mercy is greater than all things. But it's upon us to return back. It's upon us to ask Allah for forgiveness. The next thing, the first thing we said again was that Rabb means someone who owns something. The next thing we also have is someone who sustains something. Meaning sustaining it and maintaining it. That think about all the rizq, all the different provision that Allah has given you in your life. Everything that you have benefited from. Since you were born, before you were born, when we were in our mother's womb, the rizq that was provided at that moment, the rizq that was provided for our mothers, so that they could give us sustenance. The rizq that we will benefit from in the future. Think about all those things. This is also part of Rabb, that He sustains us, He maintains us. That as we grow, Allah provides for us. That our bodies are developing, are growing, we become adults, Allah continues to provide for us. And the last thing we want to look at is something, I love this point very much, because it's something I think a lot of us are familiar with, the word tarbiyah, right? We've heard this word tarbiyah quite a bit. What it means is what? To develop someone, to educate someone, to basically mold someone, improve them, and just make them better and better. So part of Rabb is to do what? To do tarbiyah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is our Rabb, He is most merciful, but at the same time, when He's doing the tarbiyah of us, even though He's providing for us all these things, what happens? When He does tarbiyah of us, what He has to do is what? Put us through some difficult times. That when He places difficulties and tests and trials in front of us, they're for what? So He can mold us and develop us. And these tests and trials are there so we can become better and improve and strengthen us eventually. What's so funny is that the Arabs, they use this similar word, they have a shared root, and it's the word murabba. Murabba. And for anybody, murabba, ta'arif murabba? Yeah, right. So murabba, if you talk to any Arabs or anybody even from Pakistan, I think maybe some other places as well, maybe you guys use murabba. Murabba is what? It's like a jam. But it's more than just a jam. It's what murabba is that the individual has to go, pick the fruit. You have to prepare the fruit, make sure it's the proper fruit. Then you have to cook it. You have to add sugar to it. You have to put the fire on it. You have to prepare it. So realize the one who's preparing the murabba is called the murabbi. So do you understand that murabbi? When we say Allah is our murabbi, what is He doing? It's as if He is like picking us from the tree. He is preparing us. He is putting us under that fire. He's adding a little bit of sugar, adding these different things, and He's preparing the individual, right? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He puts what? Different trials in our life. He puts different tests in our life. Puts blessings here. Puts ni'am over here. There are certain things that come in our life that we think that we will not be able to face. But guess what? If we trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we place our trust in Him, and we work in our life according to Him, what pleases Him, realize that our end product is a sweet, excellent product, inshallah. This murabba, we become this what? Something that's developed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because He is our murabba. We place our trust in Allah and He will develop us into something that is much nicer, mashallah. So we talked about that Rabb gives us tarbiyah. Now what I want to do is, we're going to take the first point of tonight in reflection and sharing and doing tadabbur question. this question is now, you have to be careful of what you're going to discuss, because this question, I want you to hear it out, but I'll give you some side pointers. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is think about one of the lowest times in your life. Meaning one of the hardest times you ever faced in your life. And think about that trial, and maybe think about what was your relationship like with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because a lot of times people ask this question, how come Allah is testing us and trying us and all these things? Why is there evil in the world? Why is there difficulty in the world? Think about this, that when were you the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And you ask the majority of people, especially who have lived a long enough life, they'll say some of the closest times was when everyone around me couldn't do a single thing to help me. My parents couldn't help me. My friends couldn't help me. My lecturers, nobody, my mentors, no one could help me. And I realized what? That Allah was the only one that could help me. And that was the moment you made that dua that was so sincere. SubhanAllah, that dua could have moved a mountain. That dua was so sincere, so powerful, you were calling to Allah. Why? Because Allah put you in such a difficulty. And then we ask ourselves, why does Allah put me through difficulty? Difficulty is a means of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That doesn't mean we put ourselves in difficulty on purpose. This is not the idea. This is opposite to what Sharia wants. This doesn't want difficulty for you. Allah does not want difficulty for you. But when there's difficulty and trial placed for you, how do we react? So the question is again, think about the most difficult, the lowest time in your life. And think of how this event in your life molded you or strengthened you as a person. So it might be that you're saying, wait a minute, actually I failed in that event terribly, and what I should have done is this. So maybe you can share that inshallah. So okay, the last thing we'll look at in the word Rabb is that if we look at Rabb, a master, the idea of a master in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and every other Rabb that has ever come before. Right. What did Fir'aun say? أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, I am your Lord the Most High. That he thinks he was Rabb. There have been so many Rabbs in the world that have conquered and enslaved people, thinking they were masters. Right. There might be modern day slaveries and things like that as well. Maybe certain employers might be considered like a slave master. But we have seen in the history of humanity actual people being enslaved. Now come look at these masters versus the master of all masters. A slave. Is a slave useful to a master? Yes or no? Yes. Does a master need his slave? A master, not talking about Allah. Does a master need a slave? What does a slave do? Works for the master, right? Yes. So, say if you have I'm not going to say if you have 100 slaves. Say a master has 100 slaves. If all of them stop working, has the master lost his power? Yes. What he wants to be achieved, it won't be achieved if these 100 slaves don't work. The very first thing we see is that when we look at the relationship between master and slave, in this life, the master is dependent upon the slaves. That without the slaves, he is nothing. If the slaves revolt, the master is toppled. Compare that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If us as slaves, we stop working for Allah, we stop doing the ibadah of Allah, we stop worshipping Allah, does that hurt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A'udhu billah. Does that affect Allah in any way? Absolutely not. If we were to, a'udhu billah, revolt against Allah, all of mankind, all of creation, we said let's revolt against Allah, a'udhu billah. Would that affect Allah at all? No. Absolutely. This is the true master. All other masters, they have just the title master. The true master is in not any need of his slaves. But we look at the masters in this life, completely dependent on the slaves. Yet Allah is free of any need from any kind of creation, any kind of being. Because He is the creator, all else is creation. How could the creator need help with the creation when He is the one who created the creation? So now inshallah, let's go ahead and we'll finish off this ayah. We're talking about al-alamina. Alhamdulillahi Rabbi al-alamina. We said so far, all praise and thanks is due to who, belongs to who? Rabbil alamin. The Lord, the Master, the Sustainer, the one doing the tarbiyah of what? Al-Alamina. Now what does Al-Alamina mean? What are some things that you guys have heard before? Al-Alamina? Worlds. What else? Universe. Very good. So actually, Al-Alam in the Arabic language, it refers to almost all of these things. An alam can refer to, for example, to a world, to a universe. Can also refer to like a kingdom of animals. It can even like refer to like different types of creation. So the word al-alam, it refers to more than just worlds. So the meaning that's conveyed over here is much broader. When we look at the word alam, it comes from the same root, it has a shared root letters with the word alama. And the scholars said that alama, what it means is it's a sign. It's not allama, alama. Alama meaning like something that's indicating to something else. It's something that is a sign, pointing towards something. So what is the connection here between alam and alama? That we say that in all of creation, all of the universes, regardless of, we're talking about the smallest creation, from the tiny little bits of the particles of atoms, to the largest creation. In every single thing that Allah has created, there are what? Signs. إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٍ. That in every single thing, large or small, there are signs. But what are these signs doing? They're all pointing and indicating towards what? One Creator. All of the signs we see in ourselves, in our own bodies, in the rahmah between two spouses, Allah says, even that is a sign. Between the different colors, the different tongues, the different tribes, the different nations, Allah says even that is a sign. In all of these things, Allah has placed signs that all indicate towards a supreme creator, an all-knowing creator. And the word alama, or the word alam, this is how it's connected to the word al-alamina. Now when we look at the word alam, alameen, this word, as we said, includes the human beings, includes the jinn, includes the malaika, includes animals, includes animate and inanimate objects, living and non-living, includes all things. So the scholar said that alameen, it refers to everything except Allah, meaning all of creation. Obviously Allah is not part of creation, right? So it refers to that. And when you look at how detailed and how complex all of creation is around us, there's a beautiful statement that we can derive over here from Mufti Shafi Rahmani. He mentions that if you look at how complex everything is, and how there are cycles and systems, there's the water system, there's the plant system, there's a certain way, photosynthesis, all these different processes. All of these have been put together by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one that has put this order, the system in place. And if it was not for Him to place those laws and those things there, it would be chaos. Rather, not even chaos, but there would be no existence. Without Allah having the control of the orbits of the planets, of these celestial bodies, without Allah controlling these various aspects, we wouldn't even be able to live. There would be no creation at all. It is Allah who has placed all these things. And he specifically, Mufti Shafi Uthmani mentions this very beautiful point. He says, just look at your own food. This is an ayah in Quran, right? Look at the provision you've been given. Look at your food. How did that plate of food even arrive there? Someone had to actually slaughter the chickens. Before the chicken had to actually be raised, be born, had to be fed. Sustenance went into the sustenance you're eating. Sustenance had to be given to the food that you're eating for it to even get to you. That the rice that you're looking at, that there had to be some kind of feeding of the rice. You had to give the rice proper water, proper everything had to be correct for it to come to you. That every single thing that you have, how does this water get to you? What distances it travel? And subhanAllah, that all these things come together. And he says that if it was up to mankind, if it was left to mankind, a human being couldn't even produce a single morsel of food. It only comes about by the one who has created all these systems. He has put them in place so that human beings could benefit. Allah is the one who has سَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ. He is the one who has made this earth, made all these different complex systems subdued for us to benefit from. He is the one who has put these things in place. And we also see when we look at the word al-alamina, is that it should give us a sense of being an ummah. That all of us as creation, regardless of our race, our gender, regardless of what time frame we live in, al-alamina, Allah is the Rabb of all of us. Allah is the Rabb of all of us. regardless of where we fall in the spectrum. He is the Lord of all of us. So we talked about the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna come to another question, and this question will be, share some aspect of creation. So this is where like all of your previous National Geographic knowledge has to come in. So make sure you think about all the different things you've seen. Maybe you've seen it in person. Maybe you've seen it on TV or online. Share something that you've seen in the creation that just blew you away. And you said that like there's no doubt there's a creator. There's absolutely no doubt there has to be a creator. So maybe, I don't know, someone's gonna say like, my mom's food. It's so like I miss my mom's food so much. I eat that. Oh my God! Like Allah. This is like one of the ayat from the ayat of Allah. This is a sign from the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all the brothers were very excited. The sisters has no reaction over it. So think about some sign, something that you've either seen. Maybe like some people might be thinking about creation, might be thinking about planets. Someone might be thinking about like the idea of love, or the idea of justice in Islam, or something that really blew you away.
But they cannot fly. But when they go in the water, the way they swim looks like they're flying. No. If you look at their shot, the way they swim is just like this. It's like flying. They can't do that. But when they hit the water, they do the same motion as flying. They're like cruising through the water. The same motion as a bird. And if you put those birds in the water, they will never go anywhere. And if you put the things in the they also they won't go anywhere. So they're like just like the kind of like actually the way they swing is quite similar to turtles. Because I went to India and I saw the turtle. The turtle also does the same thing. Like a breaststroke thing. That turtle, he just do like 1, 2, and he's gone. I was trying to chase a turtle. Compared to like land or sea. I was trying to chase a turtle in the sea. And I had the fin long. And I took so fast and everything. I was that Allah is saying that these individuals have a high place. The ones that think about the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of times, especially, I promise you guys, we're living in Malaysia. My God. Every single day when I see this mountain outside, I just look at it for like a second. I'm like, yeah, where am I? Is it Jannah already? Just like how beautiful this country is. Come to Texas, please. Come to Texas. Come one day to Texas. Let me show you how flat everything is. There's buildings. That's all we have. You guys have mountains. Come to Saudi Arabia. To show you sand. MashaAllah. So we're remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this. Now, we had a lot of different points. We had one, Ahmad Sabri mentioned a very beautiful point. He talked about penguins. He said that penguins was a beautiful ayah from Allah. You guys know penguins, right? Yeah. A plane لونه أحمر لا ليس أسود أسود أبيض. So the bird that's like white and black, you know, like waddles like this. Happy feet, huh? Happy feet. Remember happy feet? So he said that you know birds. What do they do with their wings? Fly, right? Penguins don't fly. He said though, if you ever see a video of the penguins in the water, it looks like they're doing what? Like they're flying. But if you take any other bird and you put them in the water, the bird can't, it's almost gonna die, right? It's helpless, it can't do it. But when that bird goes in the water, it's just like it's flying, it's soaring through. And we had, so I didn't get to go to the sister side completely, but we had I had some Sister Intan bring me some of the points of you guys. She mentioned that a lot of people mention what the natural signs that Allah has put in terms of the moon or the sun. When you see that beautiful sunrise, that beautiful sunset, and you see those different colors, you're like that's 1,000 different, I don't even know how many different shades of pink and orange I'm looking at anymore. There's purple, there's all these different colors in the sky. And you're just saying, SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah, who could have created this except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How can we deny the existence of a creator when this beauty has been put there? If I was to take this glass and smash it on the ground, if I was to take something and to slam it, and this destruction happened, would all of a sudden everything start being created? SubhanAllah, no, there was something that has to actually be put in place. Allah puts these different things in place. So Allah put all these different creations in place, the sun and the moon. And how when we look at them, that full moon as we see sometimes, and how large it is, we just are just blown away by it. And we had individual sisters that mentioned when you study anatomy, and when you study your own body, and you're like, Ya Allah, what is this? Like, what are all these things? What are all these things? I don't even know, like your vessels will reach the moon and back, subhanAllah, in one person's body. Your intestines will go, and we're actually studying Qadaya Muhasana this year, contemporary issues. We're talking about like the body and organ donation and stuff. And we're talking about like, you know, this organ does this, and this organ does that, and we're just like blown away. That all these different things Allah has gifted us. That for the one who's saying, where are the signs of Allah, where are the signs of Allah? It's as if the person is blind. Like as if the person has his eyes closed. There's signs in every single one of us. There are signs in every single one of us. And then we even had the sisters, they mentioned that what's so interesting is that one of the signs of Allah is that people will come to Islam from like the most random sources possible. Someone's like, you know, I've heard of Islamic financing before, and someone like studies, like Googles Islamic financing. Or someone like Googles like justice in Islam, or slaughtering animals in Islam. And from reading that, they're like, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Like it's like, I want to accept Islam. And we might take those things for granted. We might say, oh yeah, Islam is just, yeah, okay, the Islamic slaughtering process, okay, yeah, Islamic finance system, okay, yeah, we take it for granted. But someone who hasn't had that blessing in their life, they see it from the outside, they're like the kid at the candy store, like looking at something, like, yeah, like, what is that over there? You guys, you have that too? Like they're just amazed by what's going on. And we're in the candy store just like eating left and right. We don't even, like we forgot what candy is. Like candy's like just our natural flavor. Like, it's just, alhamdulillah, we're already so used to it. But realize that Allah has blessed us with so many different signs and blessings, alhamdulillah. So, we were able to talk a little bit about this. Let's go ahead now and, we're going to try to cover two more ayat. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim and Malik Yawmiddin. Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. This is actually something we already covered in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, correct? But Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, we didn't talk about the meanings of Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. I just generally translated it for you. But if you look at the meaning of both of those words, they come from that shared root word of Rahmah, meaning mercy, right? So why is Allah repeating two names that have to do with mercy? Is it the same meaning? Abadan la. Absolutely not. Allah does not repeat anything in the Quran that has the exact same meaning back to back. There's always an additional meaning. There's always something that differentiates it. So for example, when we look at Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim over here, Ar-Rahman has an inclusive idea of mercy. Meaning, when we say Ar-Rahman, everyone and everything comes under the mercy of Allah, of Ar-Rahman. But when we talk about Ar-Rahim, it's more exclusive. And this is one of the opinions that scholars have. That it's more inclusive and it's only for, it's more exclusive and it's only for the believers. Now, if we look kind of more deeply into this, Ar-Rahman has a couple of features to it. It has abundance, meaning it's just like a rush, a large amount of mercy. And at the same time, it has another aspect of it, which is temporariness.
It has temporariness. Now we're not saying Allah's mercy is temporary. We're not saying that, a'udhu billah. But we're saying this name, what it connotates from the language is two things. Abundance, meaning it's like, imagine like just an overwhelming amount of mercy, abundance. But at the same time it's temporary. Think of it like of a wave maybe, right? But waves sometimes are very negative. But you know the idea of a wave is what? That it comes all at once and it washes by. Now what do we get that from? In the language, this pattern, Rahman, other words are like this. That it's like a severe hunger, severe thirst, severe anger, but then it subsides. Same way, it's Allah's mercy, Ar-Rahman. So we talked about that in this aspect when we talk about Ar-Rahman. He is the one that His mercy will cover all things. The believer, the non-believer, the one who is an atheist, who doesn't even believe in His existence. Now inside the believer you have what? The one who is disobedient, the one who is a hypocrite. All these things, what happens? Ar-Rahman is the one who covers them. Regardless of if you have worshipped Him or not, if you have done what Allah wants or not, He will take care of you in a way. He will provide you for in a certain way. That's Ar-Rahman. Now Ar-Rahim, the scholars say that Ar-Rahmanu fi dunya wal-Rahimu huma. Ar-Rahman is the one that His Rahmah is in the dunya, but Ar-Rahim is the one whose mercy is in the dunya and in the akhirah. That this Rahim is specifically for the believers, for us. Realize that Allah is using a name here, that one is inclusive of everyone, then He comes specifically to us. And Ar-Rahim is the one who has mercy for us in this life and the next. But realize that our mercy as believers in the next life, it's endless. Because once you enter that mercy in the akhirah, once you enter the Jannah, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no coming out of that mercy. There is no coming out of that. Whereas in this life, if we don't have the mercy of Allah, we might have the anger of Allah upon us, right? That Allah might be upset at certain things we're doing, or certain things we're not doing, right? But realize that once we earn the mercy of Allah, and we have attained it in the akhirah, it is something we will always be within. We'll be in the khalidina fiha. We'll be in it forever. And we can never come out of that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we earn His mercy in this life and the next. Ameen. So we looked at dunya versus akhirah. We talked about the mercy of an individual, but let's talk about, look at the idea of mercy between human beings. If you, for example, let's say you own a property, right? You're renting out a property, and you have tenants that have to abide by certain rules. When those tenants abide by certain rules, they have to make, certain payments, they have to do certain things, you can't, do certain things that are against the contract. Otherwise, what happens? You kick out. So imagine if a tenant stops paying rent. Imagine if the tenant is destroying your home. As the owner of this place, as the one who is in charge of this place, what do you have the opportunity of doing? Taking this person out. But we already mentioned this before, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has a complete right, that if He wanted, He could take us and remove us right then and there. But from His mercy, from Him being Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, from that He allows us the opportunity for us to come back and realize sometimes we need to talk about this over and over again, because as believers, if we don't have the proper idea of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ourselves become negative. We start painting a negative picture of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Realize Allah's mercy, the doors of His mercy are open. They are constantly open for those who will come back. Until that last rattling of the death, your opportunity for mercy is there. So even regardless of however we transgress in this dunya, if we come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, Allah will forgive us. And what does He say? That if your sins were to reach the heavens, if they were to reach, if you were to just keep sinning, if you were to keep going, as long as you came back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says what? I would forgive them and I wouldn't even care. He says, the Messenger of Allah tells us in another hadith, that if you were a people that did not make any mistakes, did not make any sins, Allah would replace you. And He would bring people, listen to this hadith, He would bring people that commit sins. And they would ask Allah for forgiveness. And He would forgive them. If He wanted to create malaika, He already created malaika. He created insan. Us as insan, we are made in this way that we will make mistakes. And the Messenger of Allah told us that every single child of Adam, every descendant of Adam will make mistakes. but the best of those are the ones who ask Allah for forgiveness. So realize Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, His doors of mercy are open. Now let's talk about the fact that we mentioned Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Then ayah number 2 after that was Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Then again, ayah number 3, he repeats Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Let's talk about the benefits of when he mentioned Ar-Rahmanir Rahim the first time and when he mentioned it the third time. So when he mentions it the first time, in the first ayah, some of the scholars, they said one of the benefits of that is that realize that this is the first ayah. This is the first part of the surah. So what the benefit of this is, and also when we say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we say it in front of every time we read Quran, right? Before we read Quran, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So some of the scholars said that this is such a beautiful idea because Allah is telling you, regardless of what you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever perception humanity has of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you come to this book, realize you're starting with the name of Allah. And who is He? He is the one who decided to choose what names, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. When everyone else around is saying, no, He's not merciful, His anger is more, He'll punish us, all these things. Realize every time He tells you to come to His book, He wants you to say what first? I begin in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the abundantly merciful, the ever merciful. So every time you come to this book, it's as if the doors of mercy are open. The invitation from Allah has already been given, this risala has been given. It is us who have to accept the invitation and go through that door of mercy. We have to come to that door of mercy. It's already open for us. But the question is, will we take that invitation from Allah? Will we accept it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and enter into His mercy? And then, how do we compare this to now Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim being mentioned the second time over here? So it's not a repeat. Remember, Allah doesn't repeat for any reason. There's a benefit we can take from this. So one of the reasons the scholars say is that when we look at the order of the ayat, Allah says Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So when we're saying Alhamdulillah, all praise and thanks is due to Allah. One of the reasons why all praise and thanks is due to Allah is what we've been talking about the entire time, is the mercy of Allah. That we've been talking about all praise and thanks, and it's like the entire surah has the praise and thanks built in. So we're saying we praise and thank Allah because He is the Rabb He's the Lord of the worlds. We thank and praise Allah, why? Because He is the most merciful to all of creation and specifically to believers. So again, to summarize Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the translation for that, what we could kind of, a decent translation would be that for Ar-Rahman, He is abundantly merciful to all. And Ar-Rahim, He is ever merciful, He is forever merciful, but exclusively to the Muslims. So Ar-Rahman again to everyone, Ar-Rahim to the Muslims. Ar-Rahman in this dunya, Ar-Rahim in dunya and the akhirah. So, there's a lot of different ideas, but I just try to rephrase it so you can understand it in a different way, inshallah. Malik Yawmiddin. What is the common translation of this? Malik Yawmiddin in a different recitation, it's Malik Yawmiddin. Malik and Malik, there's two different ideas. A Malik is an owner of something. A Malik is a king of something. Malik, king. So, when you think of a Malik, an owner of something, an owner knows the details of that little thing, right? He's the owner of something small, right? You're not like the owner of a wilaya, right? You're a king of a wilaya. You can't be like the owner of, maybe you're like the owner of like a shop here and there, or a school or university, or a car or something, but you're not the king of the car. You're not the king of your pencil, right? So this, I'm the king of my phone. Right? You're not the king of your phone, you own the phone. So realize when you're talking about a king, it's very large. He's the king, he owns the entire dominion of the heavens and the earth. Very large scale. But at the same time, when you look at a king is not able to what? A regular king is not able to, look at the details of every single thing in its kingdom. But Allah is a king that can do that. But when we look at the word Malik, the owner of something, the owner knows the detail. But yet when we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is irrelevant. This is irrelevant. Because Allah is Al-Alim regardless. But He uses the word Malik and Malik in both recitations to show us that He is the owner of it in grand scale, as well as each and every single little detail about it, He also owns it. So when we look at the translation for Malik Yawmiddin, a nice translation for that would be the owner of the day of judgment, right? That's commonly used. But ad-deen is not judgment. Deen actually comes from a similar word that comes with dain. Dain. If you know what dain is, it's a loan. Or it's to be like, it has to do with qard, the loan, has to do with basically being in debt. So what happens is when you have this shared group word, it's this idea of if you have a loan or if you owe someone some money, what you have to do is that if you owe them money, you have to give it back exactly as it was. So for example, you owe them 5 ringgits. You're not going to come back and say, here's 3 ringgits. No. 5 ringgits, you have to give back exactly that much. Right. So realize that on the Day of Judgment, you did something. Whatever you did, you will be given exactly what you were supposed to get. If you were doing good, you will get exactly what you're supposed to get. I mean, you will be rewarded exactly according to what Allah wants you to have. But realize even this is not completely true. Because Ar-Rahman, His mercy, He will give you more and more and more than you ever expected. You expected so much for a single deed that you did, for a certain action you did in your life, you expected this much hasanat. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He multiplied. And there are so many beautiful ahadith where He mentions that if you were to do one action, He would multiply it according to times 10, or 100, or 700, or He would multiply even more than that. Like this is just like, if you want to do business, you want to do business with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like, oh, I'll give you back double the profit, or 10 times, 100 times, or even more than that. Allah is just saying He will give you more and more than you ever expected. That Allah gives بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ, without account. That He is not stingy in His giving. But it's us who have to act, who have to seek that reward, right? So when we look at the Day of Judgment, Allah tells us in the Quran in different parts that that is the day in which no soul, not a single being will have authority. That the authority that day is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the day that which the soul that worked hard in this life, that had difficulties in this life, that expected the reward of Allah, it will be rewarded that day. And that soul that worked evil this life and thought that it would never be taken into account, it will be taken into account that day. Look at the end of Surah Zilzal. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا. That whoever works even a tiny atom's weight of good, they will see that good on that day. And if anyone was to see even that atom's weight worth of evil, they would see that on the Day of Judgment. And we ask Allah to forgive us, so He does not bring those things forward. We ask Allah to purify our book of deeds, so those things are not there for us, Ya Allah. Say Amen. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let us, the good that we have done, we ask Allah to multiply that. And the evil that we have done, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us of our sins and our shortcomings. So when we look at Malik, we realize that this word as an owner, being the owner of Malik Yawmiddin, the owner of the day of recompense. And this is something, such a beautiful point. If you think about owning something, you can own what? Land. You can own an idea even, right? This idea of copywriting an idea, it's trademark. What's it called? Trademark infringement, right? Owning a logo, a label. You can own stock markets. You can own like digital things. You can own like all these different things. Can you own time? Even when we come and say, trying to think of an example. This is a much easier example to give in the US, but I can't think of an example over here. Give me like an equivalent of Martin Luther King Day for over here. MLK Day. Say it's like, one of the Sultan's birthdays or something, right? Say it's one of their birthdays or one of the leaders' birthdays. Or it's like an Independence Day or a celebration day of the presidents or the leaders of the past. Now, when we say it's like the president's day, or it's his birthday, does he own that day? No, he doesn't own that day. Nobody owns that day. If it's your birthday or it's your anniversary, yes, your wife owns that day, but you don't own that day. You really don't own that day, right? You don't really own the day. What does Allah say over here? The only one who could even make a statement like this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's referring to a time. Yawm. Maliki yawm. He's saying over here, even a time frame, He's the master of all things, the owner of all things. But He highlights over here, He is the master of the Day of Judgment. And no one can say they own this 30 minutes of your time. I own this hour, I own this day. No, only Allah. Because time is a creation of Allah. How incredible is that? When He says Malik Yawmiddin, we've been reading this for 20 years of our life, maybe 18, 19 years of our lives. But when we reflect on this, that Allah is the Malik of even the time. this day. He owns it. He's the owner of that. So we also can benefit from this, that when we say ownership of something, we have so many things in our possession, right? There have been so many who have had so many treasures and kingdoms before them, own so much. But realize that all of these things that we've been given, they are what? Amana. They're all a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We in ourselves don't own anything. Not our parents, not our children, not our spouses. They are all blessings that Allah has given to us temporarily. So, when we have to have that idea in our mind, that for example, I give this bottle, or not a bottle, I say, let's say I give this camera to a friend of mine. I say, okay, I'm going to let you borrow this. So when I come back, and I say, can I have it back? The person can't say, what? Why? Why are you taking it back? I thought it was mine. No, I said you can borrow it. Allah has given us from our eyesight to everything we have, this is borrowed. This is not ours. When we say this is my body, this is my life, no, it's not our body, it's not our body. It is Allah who has given us this amana. And it's an amana to us, for us to live accordingly to what He wants. Our bodies are in the ownership of Allah. Will we take what Allah owns and displease and disobey Him with exactly what He owns? The food that He has allowed us, He has provided us that. Yet we eat it and then we sin. The earth that He has provided us, the shade He has provided us, the home He has provided us. Will we take those blessings and yet be disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us cognizant of the different blessings He has given us, and be thankful for those blessings, and to minimize our disobedience. And when we do, not if we do, when we make a mistake, we rush back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, realizing our mistake, and not being hard in our hearts, and saying that, you know what, let this go, whatever. I'm not going to even think about it. That we ask Allah to protect us from making our sins become something that we just brush off, we don't even care anymore. That we've killed our conscience. We ask Allah to make us of those who, when we make a mistake, we turn back to Allah. We want to cry to Him, we want to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the mistake we made. So with that, inshallah, we'll conclude for tonight with the final discussion. And that is, this is a little bit more advanced, but I hope you guys, inshallah, will take some benefit from this. This is now looking at Maliki Yawmiddin and putting it in context with the rest of the passage that we've taken so far. So let me summarize so far. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. So what you have to do is figure out what are the main ideas in these three first ayah. Then when Allah comes with this fourth ayah, what is He coming with? And what lessons, what benefits can we bring from Him saying Maliki Yawmiddin over here? So the idea is trying to figure out, He put this in a certain order. That what are the ideas He's mentioning in the beginning, and what are some lessons, some benefits. And hopefully we'll share them at the end. So just to quickly give you a running translation, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, with the name of Allah, because of the name of Allah, the abundantly merciful, the ever merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise and thanks is due to Rabb, the Lord, the Master, the Sustainer, the one who does the tarbiyah of Al-Alameen, all of creation, all of the world, all the systems. Ar-Rahman-Ar-Rahim, again, that is the abundantly merciful, the ever merciful, and the ever merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin, the Master, the King of the Day of Judgment.